Hi, this is May, Pronunciation Mag, and I'm going to talk to you about being an Ielts examiner in this video. I was an Ielts examiner for 5 years. I worked at a center that saw as many as 100 candidates a Saturday right here in Dallas, and it is has just recently been shut down. I sometimes would see or would do as many as 22 exams on a Saturday, so it was something that I was well acquainted with for quite some time. So I can tell you what it's like to be an examiner. Well, we have to do a lot of training. That's the first thing. There are so many rules for this exam for us that you cannot even imagine, and a lot of them deal with bias and standardization, which of course are two things that are related. The exam is extremely standardized. It's made to be fair for every single person, to make sure that every single person taking the exam has the same chances of doing well as everyone else anywhere in the world. So, and also the idea is, you know, not only are you getting the same experience, but you'll be getting the same score at my center, for example, as you would at another center with another examiner. So that's kind of the way the exam is designed. And for that reason, a lot of candidates kind of get nervous. They don't really understand, you know, why we're not responding to them. We're not allowed to really respond to you. We're not allowed to answer your questions. We are really not allowed to talk to you about anything beyond the script in the exam. And we do read a script. We must read it verbatim. So you will hear the same script from any examiner anywhere in the world. There are even some things in the script that are not North American English phrases. They're really British phrases, but we have to use them because that is how standardized the exam is. It's an international exam. You know, it's really originates more from Great Britain, of course, and so, you know, a lot of the exam is British English, but they're also changing that a little bit. So it's something to keep in mind. When I first started, we had to refer to apartments as flats, and as you know, if you live in the United States, nobody says flat. It's always apartment. But when I gave the Ielts exam, I had to say flat, even though that was probably the first time I ever said flat in my life. So very standardized. Any examiner will arrive at the same score for the same candidate. And if they don't, then they will get what we call a caution, which means that they're not performing up to the standards for the exam. So it's something to keep in mind. Let's see, what else? Bias is extremely important to avoid as an examiner. So many times I had really sad stories. At the end of the exam, somebody would break down crying, you know, please give me a good score. I got to get into university. I've got to renew my visa so I can be a nurse and I don't have to go back to the Philippines. And, you know, I have my family here. My family's moving here. I have a baby, you know. So be very careful about that because, you know, the examiner is also getting examined by people who are higher up than them, and if we have it on the tape, then somebody can always point at that examiner and say, that examiner was not performing up to standards, he was being biased, he gave a score that was higher than what he was supposed to, and it can be very bad for that examiner. So the other thing I want to talk about is just how intense it is for the examiner. It's very intense for the examinee, I know, because you are going all day and you're expending so much energy, you know, and, you know, things that you have to be careful about. I know you've got to be hydrated, you've got to, you know, have proper nutrition and good night's sleep and that kind of thing. But it's the same thing for the examiner. It can be very exhausting. So Try to make your explanations as organized as possible, both verbally and in writing, because oftentimes I've heard, lots of details about engineering and things that I don't understand, and my mind is completely off, in another world. Just make it accessible to the examiner as much as you can. Although it's really not an exam about engineering, it's about English. Just make sure that it is just so well organized that the examiner can kind of follow what you're talking about, and can give you a more objective decision. Of course, it's always going to be standard, but just keep it in mind that because you want to make yourself clear in the exam. Especially in the writing portion, make sure that you plan what you're going to say. Make sure in any part of the exam that you understand the prompts. That is, you understand the instructions. You make sure that you understand the issue that you're supposed to be talking about in the essay. You can ask one type of question, and that is to get the examiner to repeat instructions. So, we can repeat instructions 2 times in any part or any question 2 times in the exam, and so don't feel shy about doing that. You're definitely not going to be penalized for doing that. You can also ask for definition if you don't understand a word. I actually had come across other examiners who didn't realize that that was a rule in the exam, that you are allowed to give a definition. So if there's a word you don't know, like for example, if you don't know what the word abrasive means, you say, can you define abrasive? Or if you don't know what aggressive, whatever it is, then the examiner can define it or give you a synonym. So that's all I have on being an IELTS examiner. I hope that it was helpful. So if you have any other questions, and I'll be thinking about some other pointers as we go along. So good luck to you guys, and I'll see you in another video. Yay! Bye.